Good morning.
Good morning.
It is Thursday, June the 22nd.
Yep.
So it is the first full day of summer. We are past the summer solstice was yesterday. And yes, Todd Jacobian, you are right. Yesterday is not the longest day of the year. The days are all the same length. It's the most daylight of the year. Thank you.
It's technically the longest day if you separate day and night.
Right. Just what God did. So back off, weatherman.
We like Todd a lot.
Yes, we do. So yeah, it's always fun though to find people that this is part of why we like Todd. That's the kind of smart alecky response that I would make to something.
Well, and I think based on all of the other things that he says, he's not doing it to be. A lot of people do it to be smart alecks and to be meh. Y'all just idiots. He doesn't do it that way. He does it just to be. I mean,
it's a dad joke.
It's a dad joke.
He's doing it to make a dad joke.
Yep. So that's why it's fun because you know his personality and.
I mean, we don't do a whole lot of dad jokes around here, but
you just keep believing that, dear.
I won't stop believing. I will hold on to that feeling.
Your son's even picked up on the dad jokes.
Yes.
And then been like, oh no, I did it.
So, back in the 90s, Wayne Watson is still a Christian singer, but back in the 90s, he was there was much more Wayne Watson music out there. Mm-hmm. But he had a song, and it was very sweet and touching about turning into dad and about realizing, hey, and the line, and it is very meaningful to me. I could do a whole lot worse than turning into dad. But then there's also the other side of it. You've got the running jokes from the one insurance company about turning into your parents. The Holderness family just did a video with a spoof of Michael Jackson's song I'm Bad with I'm Dad, and he's talking about the things of becoming the grumpy old man. And I'm like, Penn, dude, I'm like apparently 5 years ahead of you on this trail. So anyway, that's we've thrown in several dadisms around here. We've used some from my father and then added additionals, especially one in the Muppet Christmas Carol. And it's a quote from the original Christmas Carol novel, but there's a point where, as Gonzo is narrating, he talks about darkness is cheap and darkness was cheap and Scrooge liked it. And around here, darkness is cheap and Dad likes it.
I grew up with that too because Scrooge was Dad's favorite.
It was a constant for it.
Yeah.
So anyway, darkness is cheap and Dad likes it. That kind of thing. So anyway, when does a joke become a dad joke?
Well, it's not when a dad tells it because Stephen was able to tell.
When it's a parent.
Yeah,
they're terrible. They're terrible. Terrible.
Would you like to read? Would you like?
I probably shouldn't. You seem to be more capable of serious rationality at the moment.
That is terrifying. I am not the captain of my own destiny, nor even of this new day, and so I renounce anew all claim to my own life and desires. I am only yours, O Lord. Lead me by your mercies through these hours that I might spend them well, not in harried pursuit of my own agendas, but rather in good service to you. Teach me to shepherd the small duties of this day with great love, tending faithfully those tasks you place within my care and tending with patience and kindness the needs and hearts of those people you place within my reach. Nothing is too hard for you, Lord Christ. I deposit now all confidence in you that whatever these waking hours bring, my foundations will not be shaken. At day's end, I will lay me down again to sleep, knowing that my best hope is well kept in you. In all things, your grace will sustain me. Bid me follow, and I will follow. Amen.
Amen. So it's Thursday. You may be wondering where we've been for the last 3 days. So are we. But
we did lose power for a couple of days, and then we've been recovering, and it's just been a week.
So Sunday morning at 3 o'clock, probably the worst severe thunderstorm that we've been in, or at least that we can remember being in, and it was pretty doggone memorable. Blew through here at, well, actually closer to 4. It was 3:45 or whatever. But
No, it started closer to 3. The power was out by 3:30.
okay,
Yeah.
I don't know. It was, the lightning was such that if I'd had my old strobe light and turned it on afterwards, you'd have been like, well, the lightning slowed down some. That's how intense lightning, wind, thunderbolt, lightning is very frightening.
We were missing the hail that a lot of our Kansans have dealt with, but that was about it. It was pretty stout.
We were pretty grateful to have missed the hail, but it was pretty stout and knocked the power out all over the place down here. And we had this is the third multi-day power outage that we have had since we have lived in Crossett. Because once again, it took out the pole at the corner of Highway 52 and Olive Street. Y'all, I know it's complicated to lay out an electrical grid, but every time, that pole, they have replaced that pole. They had to replace. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know if we need to shield it, if we need to.
It's like a target. It's got a target on it for everything that comes through.
All the poles, all the rest of the poles. I mean, there were a couple other poles that were damaged in that line this time, but that one, every time. I mean, we had a 3-day power outage before, and that was the only pole damaged all around. It's like, what is going on here with this pole? So anyway, so we had, power was out, so we ended up, we had trees down blocking roads. We had people, we were supposed to baptize somebody for church Sunday morning. He couldn't get out of his house, or he'd get out of his house, he couldn't get off the street. You couldn't actually get to the church because the road was closed, because not only were there trees down on it, but a high transmission power line was laying across it in one section. So the road was closed. They actually did have real blockage on the road. So you know how there was a road closed sign here that people were just driving around. But if you went on down farther, you hit, no, you're not coming across.
You cannot come this way.
They actually had like bucket trucks parked across it. Because that high transmission line by the airport laying on the street. So it was a bit of a mess. Shout out to the several companies of linemen and such that came in to do the fixing. Entergy does not keep enough assets on hand to deal with storms. Because you wouldn't like your electric bill if they employed enough people on a full-time permanent basis to deal with storms. So instead, there are companies that do the same kind of work, and that's who, whether you got Entergy, Ashley Chico, the electric co-op, whoever, if they get overwhelmed by a storm, they bring in, they'll call these third-party companies to come in and help. And so these linemen will go for a month up here and, or a week here, a week there, as the case may be. So they came, tree services came, tree service came in from Texas and was clearing trees and just all sorts of fun. So we were in the dark for a couple of days, and then, we were in the dark and the heat for a couple of days. And then most folks around here got power back, last night. I know there's still some folks they're working on today. The whole city of Hamburg was out because the supply line to Hamburg went down. Now they're fixing the small individual breaks. There weren't that many small breaks in Hamburg, but they had to get the transmission, the supply line fixed so they could find the small breaks.
Right here is just a bunch of small breaks.
A whole bunch of small breaks. So yeah, so that's where we've been for the past few days.
We were early in we got our power back Monday evening.
Monday evening.
So we were kind of early on the line of all that, but
yep.
Yeah.
Although, slightly jealous, some people got it back Sunday night, but anyway, and on that, on a theological note, we canceled church Sunday morning, and part of that was, it wasn't really driven by the lack of electricity, but by the general safety concern of people getting here. There is, first of all, the text messages, is there power at church? And I never gave anybody, the answer, of course there is, because it's Jesus. But as far as electricity, you can have church in the dark. Our forebears have done that did that for 1,850 years. No big deal. But first of all, 2 out of the 3 roads that you would use to get to the church were closed because they were blocked by trees and power lines, which makes it slightly challenging to get there. And in a disaster situation like that, you can overtax. You don't want to overtax the infrastructure around you. You don't want to put extra cars on the road. You don't want to put extra people in danger. The last thing the hospital needed was for a couple of our church members to get out and have they didn't need an extra ambulance case because of a car wreck or anything like that. The police and fire department didn't need to do it, so we canceled gathering that Sunday for that reason. There's commitment, there's persistence, and there's also wisdom and discretion. And we tried to use wisdom and discretion, and we'll gather this Sunday. And we were at church last night. So anyway. All right, so there's that. All right, it's Thursday. We have a tip. Do you have a tip?
Have battery-operated stuff on hand.
So we just recently got this thing. This is a battery-operated fan, but it also has lights, and they actually also go in the warm as well as the bright light, as well as. I need to turn the light off now. As well as you can actually use the battery in it. You can plug a USB cord. It charges off a USB, but then you can plug a USB cord and drain your fan battery to charge your phone battery if you need to. Which you may say, well, why would you do that? Well, that way you just charge this one thing. But these were a lifesaver.
Yes.
Battery operated stuff. You need to think through. Okay, if the power goes out, what am I going to do? You say, well, I guess I should get a generator. Generators aren't cheap. Generators are noisy. They cost money to operate. Power went out to all but 2 gas stations in town, and they were out of gas by mid-afternoon Sunday. Why? Because everybody had to go buy gas for their generator. And, and it was at the end of the weekend, and they were already due for gas deliveries on Monday. Mm-hmm. And we do have a generator, and we did fire it up and use it to keep the fridge and the freezer from losing all the food. Because if you can, yes, a generator is a good idea. But you have to operate it safely. They're noisy as all get out. Stephen and I were talking about this, that used to be, I remember being at, Hurricane Elvis when all the power went out in Memphis when we lived there. And
so quiet.
It was so quiet. You went outside and it was so quiet. It was
unnaturally
creepy. It was really creepy to be in the middle of the city and it's just silent. Nowadays you go outside in the middle of a power outage and it's noisier than anything because everybody's got generators running, and most of us don't do good maintenance on our generators. We run them when the power's out, then we stick them in the shed, and then we forget about them until the power goes out again. It's hard to run a generator if you live in an apartment because you can't run them inside. They exhaust carbon monoxide. They will kill you. Your generator will kill you if you don't use it safely. It doesn't like you. Okay, it just doesn't. So there's a lot of challenges with that. If you can get one, you should, but you're not going to want to run it constantly. One of the reasons we run it was to be able to charge. We have more than one battery operated fan and such, and then we also have flashlights that you can put batteries in, as well as flashlights you can charge off of USB. You need to think about these things.
Yeah, and the other thing is you need to think regularly about checking the charge. A lot of times we don't think about checking charges and stuff until we're in a point where we need it. And we actually have a battery pack that works well to keep a laptop going for forever. And the charge on that is phenomenal. But you can also do things like charge your phones and that kind of thing. It probably would have lasted the entire power outage just for charging phones and maybe even charging fans and stuff like that. It probably would have lasted the whole time if it had been charged. But we let it go dead and we didn't think about it because we hadn't needed it. And so that would be the other tip is keep your stuff, pay attention to it and keep your stuff charged. Check it, maybe set a length of time that you're going to check, maybe even just once a month. Check all your battery powered stuff and make sure it's all charged to the maximum so that when you do have an emergency, it's ready.
Just assume that you live in a disaster zone. We would talk about, if we all lived on the Gulf Coast, we would talk about, hey, have your hurricane evac bag. You should check that because you need to be ready to be told, hey, get out. I've got my friend who lives in Arizona near where there's frequently wildfires. They keep an evac bag ready because sometimes it is, you have 2 hours, get out. And so you don't have time to be sorting through, you can, they have a list, there's a bag that's ready and then an empty bag and a list, grab these things, kind of stuff where you've got to be prepared. The other thing that you should do, we need to get more. I think I have one more can, but Alexa, put denatured alcohol on the shopping list. This is denatured alcohol, which is a clean burning fuel.
Which means it's much safer to burn inside. Yes.
You do want to try to run it, burn with it briefly, but I would recommend, Solo Stove makes a great little portable camp stove that comes with an alcohol burner that you can set up, and it is stable enough that you can put a skillet on it, you can put a kettle on it. Be ready to heat water, cook food, etc. Because, and you can burn that. You can use this inside, especially for 20 minutes or less.
We also have the portable camp stove with the little
with butane
with the small butane, and we can take that outside and cook with it. But it is super easy, and that will burn hot enough to boil a couple of kettles of water in the amount of time that it's safe to use it indoors, or to cook there are plenty of things that you can cook in under 20 minutes and have a good meal.
Yep. So pay attention to, have some things like that on hand. The number of folks that I heard say, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to make my coffee this morning. Folks, this is a reason not to depend on a Keurig. Okay.
Or even an electric kettle. We have electric kettles.
Yeah, we use electric kettles, but have a backup plan because something is going to go wrong.
Now, one of our problems was we did have a backup plan for grinding. We have whole bean coffee. We had a backup plan for grinding whole bean coffee, and it broke Monday morning.
Yep.
That was not good.
No, it wasn't.
So we're going to have to get another backup.
Yes, we'll work on that. But anyway, so pay attention to some things like that and realize, they get the power back onto you as quickly as they can, and as safely as they can. But I know that in the heat and humidity of an Arkansas summer, you may say, I don't know that I would feel that guilty if people died to get my electricity back on because I'm about to die with it off. Yes, you would. These are other human beings. You care about them, even if you don't know them. There are safety rules for it. There's planning that has to be done, and the work schedule, and it just takes time. It took time to build it. It takes time to fix it, and something that we should all realize: sometimes it takes longer to fix something than it took to build it in the first place. It doesn't take 3 or 4 days to build a car, but if you've ever had significant car trouble, you may have encountered that it may take 3 days to fix a car that a brand new one is built in less than a day. But that's because you don't have to work around things, the stuff that they have to work around. So have a few tools, make some space in your life to have some tools on hand so that you can press forward. And then that gives you better ability to know what you need, help meet your friends and neighbors' needs, and then also be able to say, hey, I've got this, do you need it? Or when somebody says, hey, do you need this? No, I've got this taken care of. Let's find somebody else that needs it. So lots of ways to help. Okay.
Okay.
You got anything else? No. Let's go home. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
That's right. Psalm 55 seems grumpy.
Yeah, we did that. We skipped Psalm 55 and did that, so.
All right, here we go. Isaiah 55, 6 through 11. Seek the Lord while he may be found. Call to him while he is near. Let the wicked one abandon his way, and the sinful one his thoughts. Let him return to the Lord, so he may have compassion on him, and to our God, for he will freely forgive. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, and your ways are not my ways. This is the Lord's declaration. For as heaven is higher than earth, so my ways are higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. For just as rain and snow fall from heaven and do not return there, without saturating the earth, making it germinate and sprout, and providing seed to sow and food to eat, so my word that comes from my mouth will not return to me empty, but it will accomplish what I please, and it will prosper in what I send it to do. Father, thank you for your word. Thank you for your love and your grace. We do pray that you guide us, help us to walk well with Jesus all through the day. It's in his name we pray. Amen. Bye-bye.